In this chapter, you will begin to understand some of the basic economic principles, basic building blocks for thinking about economics. In general, you ought to learn from this chapter what economics actually is and what it is not. What are the four resources that economists speak about? How is it that economists think about the world? What is their framework for thinking about economic problems? And why is it that economists always seem to disagree with each other? So first, what actually is economics? Economics is not the study of the stock market. It is not the study of how to make money. It's the study of the choices that we make. We have to make choices because of the issue of scarcity. So in this chapter, you will understand that scarcity does not necessarily mean somebody is poor or deprived. Scarcity applies to everybody. Scarcity means that we have a limited amount of resources. So what are some of these resources that we talk about? You will begin to understand about the resources of land, labor, capital, and a special resource called entrepreneurship. Land is anything that's natural, that comes from the ground. It's actually the physical space, the physical ground. Labor is the time that people spend doing things. And it's not necessarily something that you get paid for, it's just how you allocate your time. Capital is not money. We'll discover that capital are the resources that you use to make other things. And entrepreneurship is a special ability to put all of these resources together to do something productive. So how is it that economists actually think about the world? We make several assumptions, and one of those assumptions is that people behave rationally, that people tend to make decisions that they believe would benefit themselves more than any cost that might be associated with those decisions. We tend to believe in rational decision making. And then we often build models as a way to examine the implications of the decisions that are made. And, and the way that we build our models, we first will identify the problem, and then we will create a model which is a simplified version of reality. We kind of rule out some of the extraneous details, focusing just on the important features. And one of those assumptions that we make is the idea of what's called ceteris paribus, which is a Latin phrase that simply means all else held constant. So we kind of push aside all the other extraneous details and just focus on what's really important. And then we'll collect data, we'll test our model, and come up with some sort of conclusion. So when economists build their models, we come up with conclusions, and it often seems like economists will disagree with each other. There's often a joke that asks 4 economists for an opinion, and you may actually get 5 answers. We tend to have a variety of conclusions. Part of that is based on the assumptions that we make. We will, in this class, begin to discover there is a difference in what's called positive and normative economics. Positive economics deals with what is. These are statements of fact that we can prove as either true or false. Normative economics, those are statements that deal with what should be. They're opinions. We can't necessarily prove them one way or the other. So economists often seem to disagree with each other, and it may be because they're making normative economic statements as opposed to positive economic statements. So at the end of this chapter, you should be able to think about and answer this question. The local vending company has decided to raise prices from $1.50 per soda to $1.75. What impacts would you expect? And in answering that question, what assumptions are you making?